Climate change, driven by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, is intensifying global temperatures and disrupting weather patterns. Extreme weather events, heat waves, hurricanes, floods, and droughts are becoming more frequent and severe, threatening ecosystems, economies, and human lives. These impacts underscore the urgent need for collective action to mitigate and adapt to a changing climate. In this talk of the Metropolis, engineer Francis Cheng Cho-ying, managing director of the Hong Kong Electric Company Limited, shares his insights on how the company addresses the challenges posed by climate change and supports the government's decarbonisation goals. Engineer Cheng stresses that understanding and addressing climate change is crucial to building a sustainable and resilient future.
I would like to thank MU for giving me an opportunity for speaking to you on this topic. Before I start, I would like to do a little survey. Who believes in climate change? Please raise your hand. Not all, but the majority, right? Second question. Do you know there had been a mass life extinction events over the history of the Earth? How many of you know about it? Not many. How many numbers of these mass life extinction events had there been in the history of the Earth? How many? 5. Very good. There have been 5 mass life extinction events up to now. And the scientists' best hope now is that the 6th will not come because of human activity. That is, all the scientists under this climate change are trying to work on. So this marks the start of this lecture. So for today, we have these 5 topics: business overview of Hong Kong Electric, some interesting facts about the current global climate highlights, and what are our government's climate policies, and how Hong Kong Electric is combating climate change in terms of decarbonization, as well as how to reinforce our infrastructure to have better climate resilience, and then the way forward in the future. Let me do a little introduction about our company. We have been in here for 135 years. We started off in 1890, and this one is our Wan Chai Power Station, the first one, near Star Street of Wan Chai. And this one is the North Pond Power Station. It has become City Garden now. The third one is the Upper Zhao Power Station, and it has become South Horizon. And this is the existing power station in Lemma. Still there, and it's the only one. Some little information about ourselves. We have 3,080 megawatt installed capacity, and currently, last year, we generate 68% of our electricity with gas-fired generation units, 32% by coal-fired. And our reliability has been amongst the best of the world. We reached 69%. What does this mean? It means that an average customer will experience a forced outage of less than 0.5 minutes over a year. And this is our network length, 7,000 kilometers. We have close to 600,000 customers, and our customer satisfaction index is 4.8 over 5. So let's look at the current global climate conditions. This is the increase in the mean temperature of the Earth. And I'm sad to report that the 1.50 degree increase has already been reached last year. And this is compared to the pre-industrial average. The second fact is the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere has increased by more than 50% from 280 ppm to about 420 ppm, and there is no trend of slowing down. And this is the fact. Based on the current conditions, and there have been some climate changes scenarios, RCP's representative concentration pathways are based on the IPCC Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 5th Assessment Report, and the SSPs are based on the 6th Assessment Report. So this is a very complicated figure. But what does it mean? A smaller number means better. A higher number means not very good news for the human beings, right? Basically, for the RCPs, it means that the increase in the radioactive energy going through the atmosphere, coming to the Earth, the increase as compared to the pre-industrial level. And then for the SSPs, it takes into other considerations what are the factors that human beings are doing to control this carbon dioxide increase. Say, for example, if we are heading towards a carbon neutral world in 2050, that is one major step that you would be able to control the carbon dioxide release. But if that target is moved to 2075, it will be another scenario. If the target is moved to 2100, that will be another scenario. So based on these RCPs, there are certain factors that would affect the world. One is mean temperature will rise. The second one is sea level will rise because the ice cap on the Earth will melt. And also the glacier will also melt. That will increase the sea level. And there are other factors that would affect the world. Say, for example, the temperature will affect the agriculture and other aspects. But for Hong Kong, the most important impact, because Hong Kong is surrounded by water, so the flooding risk is the major risk that Hong Kong will be facing. For the SSPs, well, you can see the figures, SSP1, SSP2, SSP3, and SSP5, and that means the scenario. SSP1 is that carbon neutrality can be reached by 2050. SSP2 is that carbon neutrality will be reached by 2075. Whereas SSP3 is 2100. For SSP1, that is the best scenario because 1.9, that figure, after that means the increase in the energy reaching to the Earth will increase only by 1.9 watts per square meter. But I can tell you that this won't be reached now because it assumes carbon neutrality can be achieved by 2050. But China has already said that the carbon neutrality will only be reached in the year 2060. And whereas the USA is coming out from this pact now, so definitely SSP1 cannot be reached. And SSP2 is assuming 2075. And I think this might be possible, but very much depend on whether the USA and the rest of the world would work to that. Because apart from the USA is coming out, there are many other countries who are not on board on this carbon neutrality, like India, like other underdeveloped countries. They are still trying to catch up with their economic activities. So what Hong Kong government has been saying, we have to, based on the middle of the road types of expected sea level rise. So the government has been advising us, please use 0.5 meter sea level rise for your prediction to the year 2100 for Hong Kong for now. Right? So that is a small recap of what is happening in Hong Kong. 224 last year has been the hottest year on record. We have the hottest April and October, and there have been a big number of very hot days, very hot nights, but I don't think you have any interest now because this is always in the news and you lose track of the numbers now. So based on that, our government has already produced a climate action plan, and that was in fact issued in 2021. So the main target is before 2035, there will be 50% reduction in the total carbon emissions. And then before 2050, that is carbon neutrality in Hong Kong. So what does it mean to us? For the power industry, the government requires to have 60 to 70% of our electricity generated from zero carbon source. That means we cannot use coal, we cannot even use gas. It has to be zero carbon. But why is it so harsh to us? Because the government was saying that the rest of Hong Kong cannot do much. So since you are a power company, you can do this. So the biggest share, the lion's share of the decarbonisation of Hong Kong has been placed on the electricity providers. So that means for our industry, we are not only having to achieve more than 50% decarbonisation, we have to achieve 70% in order that the whole Hong Kong community can achieve a target of 50% reduction. That is the background, and that is the policy objective. And we have translated into our science-based target, but I would talk about it later. So in last year's policy address, Hong Kong government was also pushing the use of hydrogen in Hong Kong. Hydrogen is very important in our further development of the zero carbon electricity. If we have to achieve carbon neutrality by the year 2050, then hydrogen is an essential component to bring our carbon emissions down. But this is still far from being a technologically viable option for the present moment. So what have we done? Well, basically, this is what we have achieved. From the base year 2005 to 2024, in fact, our company has already reduced carbon emissions by 40%. And the only way that we can use is by changing coal-fired units to gas-fired units. And at the same time, because of the reduction in carbon emissions, we also reduce sulfur dioxide. We also reduce nitrogen oxides. We also reduce particulates. So this have all come down now. So this is one of the newest units, Unit 12, that replaced another coal-fired units. Installed capacity is 380 megawatts. It used combined cycle generation technology. The efficiency is much higher compared to coal-fired units. Emissions of carbon as well as other pollutants are also much better compared with the coal-fired units. And because of this unit, our gas-fired electricity generation increased to 68% last year. Because of the increase in natural gas usage, we also partnered with China and Power to construct an offshore LNG terminal, liquefied natural gas terminal. So basically, on the right-hand side is a very big ship, and this is all the storage tanks plus all the regasification units. So we make use of the facility on this big ship to store the LNG as well as to convert it into gas for delivering it to our power station as well as the other companies' power station for use in the gas-fired units. And then on the left-hand side, the smaller ship is what we call the LNG carriers that will bring LNG from all over the world, every part of the world, to this ship for storage. This is an ideal solution, but unfortunately, Hong Kong has typhoons and monsoons. So whenever there are typhoons and monsoons, these ships have to go. So we will be out of gas supply. At the present moment, we have two sources of gas supply. One is this ship, and the other one is a submarine gas pipe from Shenzhen. The other company also have other gas supplies. So in case these storage vessels leave that terminal, we can rely on the other supply to back us up. So we translate all our actions into science-based targets. In 2017, we have already stated a target of 30% reduction by 2022, and we have already achieved it. And so we have set another science-based target. From 2022 to 2035, we will further reduce our carbon emissions by 68.4%, which is a massive reduction. So apart from decarbonisation, we are also having our efforts concentrated on how to reinforce our infrastructure to have better climate resilience. So let's just do a recap of the things that happened in these few years. Just last year in November, we have 4 typhoons appearing at the same time in the West Pacific region and the South China Sea. This is a record since 1946. We have never seen this. 4 typhoons at the same time, and 3 of them affected Hong Kong, one after the other. And because of that, you remember what I said, our ship, the storage vessel, had to leave the site, have to leave the terminal for more than 3 weeks in this period. We also saw that the rainfall brought about by typhoons has drastically increased over the recent years. 223 was the wettest year because we have Typhoon Haikui. One typhoon brought us 600 mm of rainfall, and there was widespread flooding in Hong Kong because of that. And this is what she did to us. This is Shaoke Wan. Because of the landslide, that road has been closed for over 10 months before it reopened. And we have the longest black rainstorm record in our history. Previously, all the black rainstorm record was only 4 or 5 hours, and this one last was 16 hours. And we also have another typhoon, Shaola, in the same year. And I think most of you remember this. This is Mankut in 2018. And also because of this typhoon, a lot has been changed. Because previously, the Hong Kong government didn't expect flooding to such a severe level. And because of this, they have changed their guidelines. I will tell you about this. And this is another damage that Typhoon Mankut caused. This is a very complicated slide. I will need to do some explanation. 1.3 meters is the mean seawater level of Hong Kong in 2020. 1.3 meters means the height above the principal datum. 1.9 meters, so you in a tidal cycle, you have high water, you have low water. And this 1.9 meter means the average of all the high waters in a tidal cycle in a year. This is 1.9 meters. Hong Kong has already registered an seawater level increase over the past 40 or 50 years. The record is, on average, per decade, there is 31 millimeter rise. That was an old record. I checked the newest record yesterday. This figure has been changed to 32 millimeters already. That means for 10 years, you will have increase of 32 millimeters. That is based on past history. So based on this historical trend, the rise in seawater level from 2020 to 2100 should be an average of 0.25 meters. So you remember, I talked about how the government was saying we have to use the figures of 0.5 meters sea level rise. So that means the government's guidelines is already double the historical record. And what is this 3.73 meters? This is the highest seawater level recorded when Typhoon Mangkhut hit Hong Kong at Victoria Harbour. And what is this 5.1 means? 5.1 meters is because at the time of Typhoon Mangkhut, the Hong Kong Observatory was predicting that Typhoon Mangkhut passed through the Bash Channel without touching down on the Philippines. But luckily, Mangkhut just slightly touched down on the Philippines, so it weakens a bit. And then if that typhoon attack has coincided with a high tide in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Observatory was saying that the seawater level in Victoria Harbour at that time would have been 5.1 meters above the principal datum. So what is this 5.6? 5.6 means we use 5.1 at this 0.5 meters sea level rise. That would be 5.6 meter by the year 2100. But what does this 7.3 meter mean? When we record the actual seawater level, the flooding level in Hung Fa Tsuen in 2018 when Typhoon Mangkhut attacked us, we found that the seawater level was 1.7 meters above this level announced by the Hong Kong Observatory. So basically, we use this 1.7 meter level added on top on this 5.6. And this is a quick sum that we use for our guide to check our facilities at the time. So basically, we round off it to 7 meters. So remember this figure. After Typhoon Mangkhut, Hong Kong government has commissioned a consultant to do a study for the area susceptible to flooding in the whole of Hong Kong. And that is the result. They found that there were 26 coastal, low-lying and windy residential areas more vulnerable to higher potential risks due to overtopping water or sea inundation in low-lying areas. Six of these areas are in our supply region. So what we did was, we based on those results and then based on our own assessment to commission another consultant study to find out what the actual flooding levels would be in the year 2100 in our supply areas. Shortly after Typhoon Mangkhut, we also set up our internal task force to review all our actions to improve the resilience of the company access. What we did was we reviewed reports by IPCC and other reports by local governments related to climate change. We also reviewed events and incidents under extreme weather scenarios that affected our company access. We also carry out additional studies with required and also determine measures that have to be adopted to improve the resilience of our company access. And then we come up with this design guideline that was issued in July 2023. And in fact, there were quite a number of revisions in that period. We also checked all our critical infrastructure against the consultancy report to see whether our protective measures are enough to be able to bring us through the year 2100. Well, certainly I will not be around in 2100, but our company access, I think, would have to withstand that until and pass through 2100. So one of our critical facilities is Lamma Island. And we found that after the consultant studied, the 7 meters level that we use at the time has been very close to the maximum sea level predicted by this consultancy report. And they were saying, Lee and Nama Power Station, they would expect to see the highest level is around 7.3 to 7.4 meters. Ridiculously close, right? based on just our intuitive estimation. And then for the rest of Hong Kong, basically near Hung Fa Tsuen, it is around 5.5 meters, 5.6 meters. And that was the level that we saw when Typhoon Mangkhut attacked us in the year 2018. So in Lam Power Stations, we have a flood wall to protect it. And then we have also raised the floor level of our new generation units to plus 7 meters already, because we have acted fast. We did not wait until the consultant's report was issued before we do our changes. For those areas that are not at this level, we erected this type of things to protect us. Remember that our power station is on an island, so we rely on barges and ships to carry things through. So if the ground level is too high, you won't be able to move any goods to the land base. So on the ferry pier and the barge unloading areas, it has to be at a low level. So for those areas, we will erect these barriers. And then for facilities on Hong Kong Island, for new facilities, we work to this 7-meter principal datum as a first line of defense. But we cannot change the ground level of Hong Kong Island. So for those areas that this cannot be met, we will have compensation measures to protect our facilities. So for substations in areas covered by these flood mitigation measures, if they are at a low level, we will require the developers to do flooding impact assessment and also to have comprehensive design of stormwater drainage system before we will allow our equipment to move into the areas. This is important to protect our own equipment as well as to protect the customers, to ensure that they will have continual electricity supply even if there is flooding at other areas. So how about existing substations? We have many substations that have been built. So for existing substations, what are we doing? These are the things that we are doing. This is a very low-level louver. So in order to prevent water coming in from the louver, then we have these covers to ensure that even if it is flooded, the water will not come in. And then we have entrance, we have bund wall. We also have a very ingenious design by our engineers. This is a floatable floodgate. So there's a step because it's very high, and then you have handrails on the other side. This design is good. If you lower it, that step comes out. If you want to close it without folding up the gate, you cannot close it. So you must fold up the gate before you can close the door. So this is to make sure that the engineers will have this floodgate folded up before they leave the substation. And then in the substations, we also have some pumps. We also have flooding alarms. We also have CCTV to monitor it. If the seawater level cannot be controlled, if they keeps coming in and our pumps cannot handle it, then the last thing that we can do is to stop the electricity supply in order to protect the equipment. When the flood subsides, then we can resume the electricity supply within a very short time without replacing the equipment. And then we have stands inside the substations for our equipment. We have also published our climate-related disclosure report last year, according to the TCFD guidelines. TCFD is Task Force on Climate-Related Disclosure. And in there, we have scenario analysis. We have our different temperature pathways, physical risks, and as well as other transition challenges that we are facing with regard to climate change. And then we have a suite of smart power services in order to help Hong Kong decarbonize. One area that we have worked on is construction site. In the past, for construction sites, you see a lot of mobile diesel generators for generating electricity. But now we have cooperated with the construction sector so that our grid supply will provide them with electricity in the early stage, so they don't need to rely on mobile diesel generators. And then we are installing smart meters for our customers to save energy. They can see their energy usage, and then try to control, adjust their behavior in order that they will cut down the electricity usage or change to more energy efficient equipment. So, all in all, we are optimistic about our Hong Kong's future development and decarbonization through electrification. And we are following our science-based target. And we also look forward to contributing to the green energy development in the Greater Bay Area. So in summary, our first action is to decarbonize our fuel mix, further increase our gas generation. At the present moment, we are installing another gas-fired unit to replace another aged coal-fired unit. We are also discussing with Hong Kong government as well as the mainland suppliers how to import zero carbon electricity from the mainland to Hong Kong as a stopgate measures in order to control the carbon emissions of Hong Kong. And item 2 is the cease coal generation and pursue regional collaboration, as I said. And we are also exploring the emerging clean energy technologies. And then the hydrogen is also important for the last mile of decarbonization of Hong Kong. So thank you very much. And I hope this short sharing will inspire you to find new ways to help the decarbonization of Hong Kong and to have a more sustainable future for the Earth as well as our future generations. Thank you.
As a power company generating electricity and at the same time trying to achieve sustainable development, what would you say would be your biggest challenge or challenges?
Our biggest challenge is usually the customer will say you have to be green, you have to decarbonize, you have to do everything to make the Earth more sustainable. But when we raise the electricity tariff because of this, they will say, why?
I live on Hong Kong Island, so I will ask why. Is it the case of all the costs for doing that must come from your customers? Is there any other way that you can cut the costs?
Basically, I think for the fuel part, it's very difficult for one company to shoulder it. If you have to have decarbonization, you have to have a more sustainable future. I think everyone has to do their part.
Okay.
In fact, Hong Kong Electric is a company that has a lot of good engineers, especially local graduated engineers. They have done a lot. In fact, many of the things that we do in Hong Kong Electric are first ever in the world.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Such as?
Say, for example, for the automation of our substations, we were in the forefront of the industry. Because in the old days, when we have to turn on or switch gear in substation, we have to send people out. You have to travel a long way to there. But our engineers have designed and invented the first ever distribution, what we call remote terminal unit, installed in the substation so that you can close or open a switchgear from a control room. And that was first done by our engineer.
It's one of the many.
One of the many. And the other one is use of gas transformers. Because Hong Kong has a lot of high-rise buildings, and if you have an oil-filled transformer in those high-rise buildings, then it will have a fire risk.
Oh, see.
So we are the first ever company or first batch of companies to use these gas transformers. And we have also the AI applications being used in our company now. And those AI solutions are not off-the-shelf product from the market. It was, in fact, a development by our own engineers. We use AI to determine the risk of underground power cables.
Well, I see.
So we base on the branding of the cables, the age of the cables, how many joints are there, their past failure history. Based on this, to use AI tools to take out those cables that has the highest risk, and then take it out for testing to confirm whether they are in a good condition.
Excellent. I hope that will make the electricity cheaper on Hong Kong Island.
Yeah.
Any questions from the floor?
Thank you, Francis, for this very interesting talk. I just want to have a point of clarifications. I was trying to find out the relationship on what we are doing for decarbonizations to achieve the carbon neutral by certain days. You mentioned about this rise in the sea levels. I was suspecting that whatever we do for decarbonizations in Hong Kong, the sea level is going to rise to 7.3 meters in Hang Fa Chun. So is that the case?
The rise in seawater level based on the IPCC report cannot be stopped.
So whatever we do,
cannot be stopped. But it's the magnitude that matters. So it is by the year 2100. Are you talking about a 0.2 meter rise, or 0.7 meter rise, or 1.7 meter rise? Some predictions were quite pessimistic. They were saying that if you continue that way, if the ice cap on the Earth melts and the glaciers all melt, then you will see a seawater level increase of close to 1.6, 1.7 meters. So if you imagine 1.6 to 1.7 meters, many of Hong Kong low-lying areas will be completely flooded. And at times of the typhoon, and it would be even worse.
So what is your advice to us if we are looking for a property in Hong Kong or Kowloon?
The best way is to reduce carbon emissions. That is the best way.
Okay. Any other questions?
If Hong Kong Electric has any plan to use underwater turbine in a very large scale, so that should be that shouldn't generate any carbon, right?
In Hong Kong, the RE, renewable energy resources, the potential is very low. So for underwater turbine, it depends on the big tidal difference, right? But Hong Kong tidal difference is very small. So virtually is of no use when you talk about underwater turbine.
Actually, Reggie's question is also consistent with mine. Actually, you talk a lot about technology like use of hydrogen, gas generation. Can we not look at new technologies? For example, in Hong Kong, we talk about wind power. We actually find a place in South China Sea. They're supposed to build some wind turbine, and that never happened.
That was in our plan, but for offshore wind turbine, it's quite expensive. For our only wind turbine at Nama, over the years, what we see is a capacity factor of 12%. 12% means when you buy a car, in the period of 1 year, only 12% of the time you can use the car. Even for offshore,
I see.
it is only 20-something percent. So relatively, it is expensive. So we are concentrating our effort to try to see whether we can have regional collaborations to import zero carbon electricity from mainland. Because in the mainland, they have developed very big solar farm, wind farm as well.
Yeah.
So with the same infrastructure, we can also import RE into Hong Kong.
I see.
Which
At the
will
moment, there's
more
no nuclear, right? No nuclear.
I believe, in order to achieve decarbonization by half by the year 2035, you cannot eliminate nuclear at the present moment.
I see.
But there are some other new technology coming up. For example, we have called small-scaled nuclear reactor, and some scientists are also experimenting nuclear fusion.
If that happens,
If that can
will change
materialize, that will change everything.
maybe we should work on that together.
Yeah.
How confident are you that we can achieve carbon neutrality?
I think for the 2035 goal,
This Hong Kong.
we are quite certain that decarbonization by half could be achieved. But further along the road for carbon neutrality, it has to depend on whether there are technology coming up that could lower the price of hydrogen. Hydrogen is very expensive nowadays compared with natural gas, especially green hydrogen. When you talk about green hydrogen, that means hydrogen manufactured from zero carbon sources. For that, you have to have the hydrogen price to come down drastically, and also the transport of hydrogen by ship
It's a bit dangerous.
is okay. Or else the natural gas network in mainland China, that is a big natural gas network in mainland China, they can use it to convey hydrogen. Or nuclear fusion technology can be put into commercial use.
Yeah. Please join me in thanking Francis for a wonderful talk. Thank you so much.